Hello folks, how's it going? Hopefully it's going good. Today we're going to be looking at the current place that we are on Ethereum, on Bitcoin, on Solana. Because you see, Bitcoin stayed the same. It stayed fixed at the 118, around the 118, inside a very tight range. Meanwhile, Ethereum kind of fell back to the 3600. We saw even 3500. So that could be a little scary for someone. But if you remember on my last video, I still stand by what I said, which is that Ethereum will reach $4,000 before Bitcoin reaches another all-time high, which is above $123,000. So hopefully whenever Bitcoin starts to picking up some volatility, that volatility will trickle down to Ethereum, which moves faster and at a higher rate, both on the upside and the downside than Bitcoin does. And that could bring in Ethereum to 4,000, maybe even higher in the next couple of days, maybe weeks. So let's jump right into it in today's video. So before we jump into the numbers for Bitcoin and Ethereum and Solana, we can look right here at the 0DT options, which now has almost 700 people in, and we're closer than ever to the $3 million in assets under management. And in the past 24 hours, we did make a profitable trade, which brought our July P&L to 2.9%. So hopefully we are able to close above March in ROI, which I believe is doable. So we have to see if we keep good conditions on the market to make that happen. In the meantime, now let's jump into the numbers. We see Bitcoin at 118,336, Ethereum at 3632, XRP at 314. We have BNB at 766, Solana at 185. So jumping straight into Bitcoin, we can see clearly the stagnation, the lateral movement from Bitcoin. So we are trading inside a little range right here. We can even draw this range right here. Yep, this is a very, very tight range that we have. So what we're looking for right now is to see the RSI show a side. So the RSI is going to show bullish or bearish signs. The volume starts to increase, like we saw right here. We had that volume and then it started to pick up. So we should see volume movement, and then we should see it test this blue line right here, which is the moving average. This is the 100 moving average, if I'm not mistaken. If we test the bottom, it bounces. We see some volatility starting to go up, and we see the RSI going up and the volume going up. This means that we have another leg up for Bitcoin, which is interesting. And hopefully this is what happens. Now, if we look right here, still in the 4 hours charts, it is way different than Bitcoin. Let's actually look back right here and right here. Look, you see that when we had the first leg on Bitcoin, we didn't have the same strength and movement for Ethereum. But then we had a stagnation period for Bitcoin, which did not result in a stagnation for Ethereum. Ethereum actually went up a little bit and then it slowed down a lot. And as I said before, we actually saw the 3,500, the bottom of the 3,500. So right now we have two things to mention, is that we are very far from this, which is the moving average. We are very, very far from it. So we could still see a correction all the way down here, and we could see a bottom here on the RSI. So we have to keep an eye to see if we're gonna slow down and kind of glide all the way to the bottom of the 3,300, maybe 3,200 even, bounce back and pick up the pace. As I said, we need to see what Bitcoin does, because that brings or takes away volatility from Ethereum and makes Ethereum move according to what Bitcoin does. Especially in these times where Bitcoin is very, very close to all-time highs, Ethereum has a huge reaction to Bitcoin's price. So you have to keep an eye on Bitcoin, even if you are an Ethereum maxi, even if you are a Solana maxi, even if you just trade one coin that is not Bitcoin, you have to keep an eye on Bitcoin to see what the market will do, trying to mimic Bitcoin, especially in these times. For Solana now, if we look at these prices right here and this range, look exactly where it brings us. It brings us to the top of the range that we had a few weeks and months ago. So we were trading inside this range. We broke this range. It became a very strong resistance for us here at the bottom. Again, we tested it multiple times. You see once right here, then we had it right here, and we had it right here. And even the top we tested before we broke above it, and now we tested it from the bottom up. So we tested it and it became a support. So this top right here, the 180 range, is now a support, confirmed support for Solana right here. So hopefully we see it bounce. The RSI is already slowed down, so that is good for us. The RSI is slowing down. We should see a recovery here towards at least the 190, 196. And again, it all depends on where money flows, if it flows into Bitcoin or out of Bitcoin, and that should affect and should interact with the prices of Ethereum, Solana, XRP, BNB, and all the others. So for liquidations, we had a lot of long liquidations. 82% were long liquidations, especially on Ethereum and XRP even more than Bitcoin. Doge also right here, but Ethereum Ethereum and others made most of these liquidations here in the long side, meaning that people were betting that they were going to go up, and instead it went down and liquidated them. So looking at the heat map for Bitcoin is a little bit of a pickle right here, because this is still from last video. If you remember last video, we had this 120 heat spot right here, right below the $120,000, but now we have another heat spot at the 116,500. So will Bitcoin go down that way? You can see we even had a little bit of a liquidation followed by a huge recovery, but I don't know if we're going to see the same thing right here, hitting and then followed by a little bit of a drop. I don't know. This is just for us to understand the ranges, not necessarily how it's going to happen. It's not because we have a huge liquidation hit range right here below the 120, it means that we're going to be attracted and it's going to go right now to the 120. No, that's not how it works. The volatility for Ethereum is not good. I'm actually not happy about it. I thought that we're going to go upwards and still keep going above like we did before when we had a huge recovery from low 60s all the way to high 70s here, the high 75, high 78 here. But no, it looks right now that we're going to go back down and slow down, which is not good for me because I like to sell options, and the higher the AV is, the better it is, the safer it is, and better it is for me to sell options return wise. So the M2 still does not give us some updated data. This is updated, and the last one that we have for the M2 supply is April 20th and July 6th. So now we are on July 24th, so we still have like 18 days of data missing, which is when we had that bull run, which is exactly what is showing here on the M2 supply. So the M2 supply already showed this bull run, which we should be seeing in a few days when this updates, a huge spike in price all the way to above $100,000, $120,000 for our Bitcoin. So this will be it for today's video. Hopefully it was insightful. Not much news on any other topics. Of course, as I said, I'm not going to be covering politics. So we have a huge amount of politics stuff that is not related to crypto, not related to Bitcoin or Ethereum or Solana, none of them. So it doesn't make sense for me to cover. You can find way better channels that talk about politics specifically for that matter. Hopefully here showing you the copy trade, showing you what we are doing here in Bitopics was able to help you make more money, especially for the guys on the copy trading side. We are very, very happy on the returns that we're having so far. So thank you very much. If you haven't joined Bitopics, I'm going to leave a QR code right here in the screen right now, and also the first link in the description for you to register. You can also bring friends in and get a commission on their copy trading. So this is also good for you if you want to bring a friend and you can start trading together, and you can also make some money on top of it. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys on Monday for another video. In the meantime, take care. Peace.